Hey guys, I just wanted to make a short video and talk to you about making your own wreath signs. What I've got here is just a piece of wood from my garage that I've had my husband cut down to it's about an 8.5 by 11. I'm using an A4 size rice paper, which is about that. The rice papers in the A4 size are just a tiny bit taller and a little bit narrower than the US standard letter size. But that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm using. And I start out by prepping my board. And I always like to paint the back and sides of my board. Now you're saying, well, you're not going to see that. It's against the wreath. I know, but I like to paint the back. It feels finished to me, more complete. If somebody's buying something from me, I want them to feel like I've really taken the time to complete the piece, and that includes prepping the back. Now when I'm finished with this, I will spray the back with a polyurethane spray just to give it another level of protection. Someday somebody might want to take it off the wreath and use it to hang on the wall. So I want it to look finished. I'm going to get this first coat on and dry it really quick. With some paints you might be able to get away with just one coat. I just felt like this needed a second coat to make sure it had good coverage. Get your handy dandy heat gun out. If you don't have a heat gun, use a hair dryer. If you don't have a hair dryer or a heat gun, let it air dry. And I had this old Lazy Susan that I've been using to do my painting projects on. I just love it because I'm just such a sloppy painter. I get paint all over me, all over the table, usually all over my hands. At least this way I am not sticking my fingers on the wet paint on the board. I'm actually able to turn the board without touching the wet paint, but I'll get it on me anyway. I hope this comes out okay because my screen just went black as I'm trying to do this voiceover, but I think we'll be okay. I'm going to go with my second coat of paint here. And like I said, you might not think it needs a second coat. You're going to spray it with poly to protect that paint anyway. I didn't like seeing any bleed through on there, so I'm just going to do a second coat real quick. It doesn't take long. I have to apologize for my voice. I've had problems with allergies for months now. I think I'm just allergic to earth. I know that you guys aren't with me right this second. This is not a live, but I'm just curious if any of you have ever made your own wreath signs, and what do you use to make them if you do. I'd love to hear from you. Leave some comments below this video and let me know if you've ever made your own wreath sign. You could use a transfer to make a wreath sign. You could use tissue paper. You could use napkins. You could use a digital download that you printed on your color printer. But today I'm using the rice paper. And I'm making a neutral everyday wreath with this, magnolias and greenery. I haven't made an everyday wreath in a while, so it's time to put one in my shop. What usually happens is I'll make something like this and then I'll want to keep it for myself, but it'll go in my shop. Just make sure your backside is dry so that when you do turn it over and start working on the front, you're not scraping off any wet paint. This is a type of chalk paint that I'm using, and chalk paint usually does dry pretty quickly. There we go. I'm going to step over here and get the rice paper, and I'm going to get a soft rag to lay down underneath this as I turn it over, because it feels dry but it's not cured yet, and I don't want to mess it up any more than I have to when I'm turning it over on my board there. And this is the paper that I'm using. It's a beautiful neutral tone rice paper with magnolias and this creamy beigey background. If you like to do your decor using very neutral colors with lots of creams and beige and linen type things, buttery, creamy colors, this is perfect for your decor. So what we're going to do now is we're going to prep the top of the board. And I know I've said this before, anytime you're using rice paper, may not apply so much with something that you're printing out digitally on copy paper, but rice paper or tissue paper, you're going to want to put down a light base coat of paint underneath that rice paper. It just makes the colors more vibrant and they pop. And I know I've said before that you don't have to put that on there. I've done it without it and it's still pretty, but it's not as vibrant, or it's just not as pretty to me. It makes the colors really pop on that rice paper. My screen just went black again and had to touch my computer. I'm doing something wrong. I just don't, I don't know what it is. I'm hoping this video turns out all right. I'll have to go back and watch it. And on this top coat that we're doing here, you really do only need one coat of paint here because you are going to cover it up. It's not like the back where it'll be, you can see it. But you just want that one coat of paint just to make that light background for your rice paper. And if you need to, touch up your sides. I really like this color. It's a warm white. I believe it's called alabaster. Now, you may not see the back of your wreath sign when it's on your wreath, but you probably will see the sides, so make sure they look pretty. See, I get it all over my hands. And just give that a quick dry before we go on to applying our decoupage medium. And I haven't run out of my Mod Podge, but I got tired of trying. It was a huge bottle, so I went ahead and got the PinArt decoupage glue and varnish. It does have a varnish in the product, so you're basically putting a top coat on when you're using that particular medium. I have chosen the matte finish. Sometimes with chalk paints you get this, as they're drying, they kind of flake a little bit or will have a little dot, raised dot of something. I just kind of like to brush them off so that my surface is pretty flat. Now here comes the fun part. I'm going to apply our rice paper. And you can see that the rice paper is a little taller and my board's just a little bit more narrow than paper. That's okay. You're just going to put it on there, make sure it's straight, and then you just kind of make your creases so that you can move your paper around and make sure it fits the way you want it. You could cut your board a little smaller so that the actual image wraps around the sides, but I didn't do that, so we're going to put it on and take off the excess. Now here's the PinArt decoupage glue and varnish, or varnishing glue. It's really a great product. I highly recommend it. It's a little different consistency than what you'd buy at Walmart with Mod Podge. It's just a really, really good product, and I highly recommend it. And I have picked it in the matte finish. And what we're going to do is a section at a time. I've done projects where I put the glue down on the entire board and laid my paper down and then realized it's crooked. You do have a little wiggle room before that glue dries to pick your paper up and move it around, but you run the risk of tearing your paper, causing bubbles, so it's better just to do a little section at a time. And I have this little squeegee that I get from Decoupage Queen. It's got a kind of, it's plastic on one part and there's a foam pad on the other part, which I'm using now, which makes it really easy to move your paper and spread it out nice and smooth on that surface. I'm not using a lot of pressure. If you don't have one of those, you can use one of these little putty, I think it's for putting putty on the wall. You can get them at Walmart, or just use your hands. But I recommend the squeegee. It's really nice. Thank you, Decoupage Queen. Now I'm raising that paper up a little higher than where I stopped with the glue. And I like this little fan brush to put the bottom layer on, because I can get right up underneath that paper to make sure there's no dry spaces between the paper and my next section. It might seem like it's more trouble to do it in sections, but believe me, if you've done it the other way, you'll know what I mean. I'm having to dip it a lot because that brush is not holding a lot of glue at one time, so I'm having to put some more on the brush. My computer is acting really strange, guys. I'm not sure how this video is going to turn out. It just froze on me. It seems like my internet since the beginning of last year, 2025, has just been strange. I don't know what's wrong with it. It doesn't work like it used to. But it is what it is. Isn't that a pretty paper? It's just so pretty. I wish you could see it in person. It does. It's just a really pretty paper. I'll try to look up where I got that because I bought it a long time ago and put it in the comments if you're interested. We're almost to the end there. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure as I'm using that squeegee. I'm just lightly running it across the paper to make sure it's all laid down flat. And then you're going to dry that out real quick. Again, this is a process where you can let it dry by itself and then put the top coat on, or you can use your dryer on it. Just make sure that if you're using a heat gun or a dryer that you are moving it around. It will burn. I think I have mine set on about medium here. Those heat guns can get extremely hot. So if you're decoupaging on wood, your wood's not going to heat up too bad. But if you're doing a decoupage product on a metal tray or something like that, it makes that metal super, super hot. So be careful when you're dealing with those. And I'm just rubbing my hands across there to make sure I don't feel any bubbles. And once that bottom layer is pretty much dry, you put on another coat on top. It seals it and make sure it stays on well, and it's also like having a varnish on top of it. It's a top coat. It's built into that product. I can't remember if I said this. I've had to redo this voiceover a couple of times because my computer's acting weird, but I'll be making the wreath next week that I've made this sign for, so I'll make a video on that. It'll be a grapevine wreath with some greenery and some magnolias. And really, you could use this particular design all year. Especially if it matches your decor color palette. I found myself, as I'm older, I'm really loving the more neutral, soft color palettes. I used to be really bold in my color choices, lots of jewel tones and dark browns and things like that, and I still like them, but I find it softer, these neutral tones, and sometimes you can just add like a pop of green or a pop of red at Christmas time with that neutral palette, and it's just so pretty. I'm changing my brush here because I didn't like the way that little fan brush was putting the product down on the paper. Just make sure you're even in your glue here. Just make sure you have an even coat over the entire surface. You don't want it sloppy, but you don't want your paintbrush dragging. And I know I've said it before, but if your paintbrush is dragging, you're taking product off, you're not putting it on. Get those edges and corners really good, because that's, if it's going to come up, that's where it'll come up. All done. Make sure you put your lid back on your glue so you don't ruin it. And it's just going to dry out now. I always like to take my piece that I'm working on and kind of pick it up and move it around in the light. You can tell if there's a place that you've missed, or if you need to add a little more here and there. You can't always see it when it's stationary, but when you move it under the light, you can see if there's a place that doesn't look like it has any product on it. And again, you can let this dry naturally, or you can hurry up the process with a heat gun or hair dryer. I like to say, it's going to feel dry pretty quick, but I would let anything you're decoupaging, painting, sit at least 24 hours before you actually use it in a design, or you just display it in your home somewhere, because it needs to have time to cure. And there's a difference between something that's drying and something that's actually cured. It's going to be more durable once it's cured. I wish you could see those flowers up close. They look real. They're so pretty in person. Like I said, you could have your board somewhat smaller than the actual image, and then you could wrap your paper down around the edges so that that image looks like it's stretched canvas. Looks like that it's been painted on the sides as well. I don't always do that. I had this board, so that's what I'm using. But it is pretty when you do stretch it out over the edges, like a stretched canvas. It's really pretty. Especially if you're going to be using it like as a wall hanging. You're going to hang it on the wall. And what's really neat about these rice papers is they come in so many different sizes. You could get a huge picture, make a huge picture. Just trying to show you up close there what it looks like. It's so pretty. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to remove those excess pieces off the edge, and that's super easy. I have a little micro sander, which needs some new sandpaper. It's really hard to use right now because it's so dull. But if you don't have one of those, you can use a fingernail file. They work great. And as you're removing your paper, make sure that you're using that sander in a downward motion. Try not to sand the top of your board there where your paper, where you want to keep your paper. Just do it like a downward motion, and it will just, normally if your sandpaper isn't dull, it will come right off. I'm having to work with it a little harder than I should have to be. Note to self, go get some sandpaper for your little micro sander. And I'm using this heat gun again because as I was holding the board, it was tacky. I could feel my fingers sticking to it. And I want to make sure that I'm not pulling the image, the paper away from the board with my fingers. So just make sure that it's good and dry, that it's not tacky when you're touching it. That way you're not going to accidentally pull your paper off your board. Now you're just going to take that, just rip that off there, and then you're going to continue around the board until you've gone all the way around your piece. And all that excess paper is completely gone from around your picture. Again, I wish I had a nail file for emergency purposes because the sandpaper is just ridiculous. It shouldn't be this hard. There you go. 2 more sides to go. You can see I'm having to get a little more aggressive with my movements because it's just, I've used that piece of sandpaper until it's lost its strength. If your sandpaper is not 100 years old like this one is, take you about half the time to get this excess paper off. As you're sanding your edges off, just double check your corners and the edges there. Make sure that everything is glued down really well. If it needs another little bit of decoupage glue, lift your paper up where it's coming off and just stick some underneath there and then press it back down. If you're a wreath maker, I hope you try and make some of your own signs. It's very rewarding and you can get very creative. You could even do transfers on wood or whatever surface you're using, and they're pretty too. gosh, just about got it done. And there you have it. See how pretty those edges come off? And you could paint that like that, maybe a goldish brown color or something to match, or even the dark brown wood of the vine. But there it is, a finished product. And you can put it on a wreath or hang it up. Bye guys.